Whoa, whoa, whoa! What's a knife for, buddy? Take it easy, man. Take it easy. I don't even have a whip. Well, hello. Welcome back to uh, Tactical Tuesday on May 7, 2024. What you just saw was a very poor attempt of me replicating a real Commando Krav Maga knife disarm. So this is when someone puts a knife up to your throat, holding you up for hostage situation or demanding for your money. Now, if any of you have seen this before, some of you may say that is not the one I've seen. The one I've seen was the person hold the knife to your throat, and then you hit their wrist. That part looked the same, and then you hit them in the face. That part looked the same. But what's that messy stuff you did there? What's that driving into them like that? That's not what we learned. What you're supposed to do is hit them in the face and then bring the wrist down like a nice, cool wrist lock, and then drive it down like this, and the knife comes free. Here's the thing: the wrist lock version, some of you might have learned, some of you might have seen the wrist grab, hit the face, and pull the wrist down. That is the public-friendly version. The version I demonstrated in the beginning of the video is the stuff that we are usually prohibited from showing the public, and people get a bit squeamish when we do this uh, demonstration because there's no question about it, right? What I did, I hit the wrist, I go for the face, and then I drive the knife in, and strip the knife back. That person is dead, okay? We're not supposed to promote murder and mayhem, so this is why a lot of time when you see Krav Maga on stage or in public demonstration, what you see is not what necessarily going to happen. It's a watered down, kid friendly version, the censored version that a lot of people are exposed to. Now, this is not what I want to talk about today because I actually talked about that in the past. But today we're going to talk about how to, simply put, strip the knife from someone's grip. Because it doesn't matter what technique you're doing, hitting, whatever technique you're doing, arm lock, wrist lock, whatever you're doing, in the end, most of these techniques require you to take the knife from the person. And that is where things are going to get a bit interesting because there in the school, your partner usually will just let go and give it to you. Out there in the real world, don't forget, if this person holds a knife on you and you are retaliating and you're grabbing for the knife, now if they kill you, they actually can claim self-defense. If they hurt you, they actually can claim self-defense because they know if you get the knife away from them, you may hurt them with the knife. So they are not just going to give it up easily. When you try to, even if you have an arm lock on, even when you have a wrist lock on, they're going to fight like crazy. They're going to claw you with the other hand, headbutt you, or knee you in the groin, and then you're going to be stumbling over the place trying to get this knife out of their hand. And they're going to have a death grip on. When they have that death grip on, it is very important to know how to effectively get the knife out of that grip without risking you yourself getting cut. Because when you're stumbling around, it's very dangerous. When you're wrestling for that knife, either they will get killed or you will get hurt, right? So the sooner you can get this knife out of the grip, the better. Now, let me say this first because some people, the cynics, the critics, going to come out and say, yeah, but this knife defense stuff don't work. It's bullshit. You know what? For the most part, I agree. For the most part, and I have mentioned this on this channel, most of the time, these knife and gun disarms, defense techniques, they're eye candy. They're what we use to promote Krav Maga. But do I really recommend them? No. Why? Because even if you're super, super good, there's going to be a chance that you're going to fail. You're going to mess up. You either step on the wrong stone, trip over the garbage can, or the person have slightly faster reflex or slightly stronger than you are, or it's something just going to mess up. Okay, you're going to step on your own pant leg for crying out loud. In the dojo, in the class, that's fine. Everybody have a good laugh. Out there, you get killed, right? Maybe the person just want your money. That's why they do this. They hold you up, right? They just want your money. Give them your money, your car key, they might go away. The moment you fight and you try to grab them for their gun or their knife, most likely they will kill you because they're scared, they're mad, they're angry, they're desperate. Okay? So knowing these techniques in some ways are very, very dangerous. I made a video said the most dangerous techniques, the most dangerous knowledge you can learn, and uh, that mostly involves knowing how to disarm a gun or a knife. Because if you don't know how, if someone holds a knife or gun to you and you don't know how to deal with that, you will either comply or you'll run away, right? If someone holds a knife or gun up to you and you think, well, hey, we covered this in class, I know how to kick his ass, and you go and do your hero macho bullshit, then you're risking your life. There's a big chance you're going to get killed. Right? These techniques, I'm not going to say they're totally useless. They look really cool. And if you do them right, they do work. But these techniques are not there for you to use when someone holds you up at gunpoint or knife point demanding for your wallet. Okay, this is more the kind of technique that is last ditch. You're going to die regardless. Okay, let's say this person already got you and your kids and your wife or your husband controlled, and you know they are not going to let you go. They are doing this. What is your safe combination number? Or who else know we're here? Like they're just trying to get information out of you, and they're not going to kill you anyway. Then these techniques might save your life. But the prerequisite is you think you're going to die regardless. Then it's worth making a fight of it. But even when you make a fight of it, I still, for the most part, don't recommend the disarming, the stripping the knife or gun from them approach. Right? Uh, why is that? Because if you take it from them and then you hurt them with it, I don't know, depending on where you're at, but here in Canada and in many countries, if I take the knife from him and then I cut him with it and he dies, I am liable. I'm criminally liable, right? I get charged. I go to jail. That's not cool. You know? So rather than trying to disarm, as some of you can rewind and watch that again, you might have seen what I did. Is I do not disarm the knife from him and then cut him with it. Once I hit the wrist, go for the face, I turn and drive the knife in with his hand still around the knife. Right? This way, number one, his fingerprint is on the knife. Number two, he's the one holding the knife, not me. So I have more of a claim to self-defense. Also, if I am trying to pull a knife from somebody, they're going to fight like crazy. They're going to think about how to hold on to that knife. If I'm trying to cut them with that knife, they're going to try to, their brain is thinking about running away. they're not going to be thinking so much about how do I hold on to this knife. Okay, this is why when it comes to knife or gun defense, I am much I'm much more big on either turn the weapon on them or trap the hand and just start punishing, start attacking the throat, the eye, the rib cage, the groin. I'm just going for the offense while holding the death grip on the arm they have the weapon in. But I'm not going to step back and try to do some fancy wrist lock or elbow uh, stuff or that tricep slicer we talked about. I'm not going to do any of that, right? Because if I do that, there's too big of a chance of them cutting me and killing me. But I think that's enough of a preamble. I think we want to look at, okay, let's say you do want to try to take the knife out of their hand. How do you do this effectively? And for this part, I'm going to come closer to the camera so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about in my hand. First, another reason why um, I really don't recommend this kind of technique is that depending on what they are holding, it doesn't always work. Okay, so a lot of time when we are training, we're holding a knife this size, like really big knife, like combat knife, a Rambo knife, bayonet, this kind of stuff. This is the knife that you usually train with. But when you're out there, this is sometimes a lot of times this is not knife that you're going to run into. Okay, a lot of time you're going to run into someone holding a knife like this one, like a very average, very normal folding knife. Okay, now some people may think that a knife is a knife. If you know how to deal with one, you know how to deal with the other. Well, yes and no. If you do the turn the knife on them and stabbing them with their own knife, or you do the trapping the arm and then go punishing them, uh, hitting the throat and stuff like that, then yes, it usually doesn't really matter what kind of knife. This is why I prefer those techniques. If your whole thing is built on disarming the knife, however, then this knife, this small knife, is a heck of a lot harder to disarm than the big one, like this one. Right? Why? Because when it's big like this, and if I can trap the wrist or trap the wrist, can't really cut me, right? Yeah, see? Like if I just trap the wrist, there's not a lot this big knife. You can maybe shave my arm with it, right? There's not a lot you can do. So you're really safe when the knife is big like that. But if it's a small knife like this, and you go in and you trap the wrist, and this is going to happen, right? See, the point will go right into my forearm, right? Like this, like this, right? I can try to trap this, and then the point is going to my arm like that. Okay, so when the knife is different, the technique is going to be different. That is the problem with trying to disarm the knife. Another thing I want to tell you guys is when you practice in the class, a lot of time you will be working with floppy, floppy rubber knife like this, and you'll get a sense that why is my disarm not working? Well, it's not working because this bends. So a lot of time when you do your technique, rather than getting the leverage you need, this thing's bending. This thing's bending, so it's not going to work. So partners, the people holding onto the knife, take that into account, right? Like don't just like have a death grip on this and then haha you can't disarm me. Well, that's not fair because your knife is like floppy, so there's nothing for me to leverage, right? If you switch to a realistic training knife like this one, then you'll suddenly find that your disarm work, because now there's no flex to it. When you push it down, it's going to hurt the hand, right? So keep those things in mind, right? Different kind of knife, different kind of result. When you're working with knife disarm, I'm not even going to grab that little one anymore because that, like I said, that's really hard to disarm, even if I'm doing it to myself, right? I'm going to use this big bayonet one so you guys can see better as well. There's two things, okay, simple. It's just two things to keep in mind when you are working your knife disarm. Number one, if you can bend the wrist in like this, okay? Try to get their thumb to touch the inside of their arm. Try, it's not going to happen, but if you can bend their wrist, I don't know if you guys can see my finger, but when the wrist bend, the finger loosen up. Wrist bend, finger open up. Okay? The more you bend the wrist in, the more the finger will open up. Right? So that is number one. Always remember, doesn't matter what technique you're trying to do, if your goal is to strip the knife from the grasp, try to bend the wrist, and those fingers will pop open. Number two, okay, number two is figure out where the thumb and the rest of the finger meet. Okay, so if the person is holding on to a knife like this, and you're like pulling, uh, it's never going to come out. Especially if the person's yanking back, you're never going to get it. Okay, if you can grab the base and try to pull like crazy, it's not going to come out. You're not going to win this. Right? So what you want to do is figure out, okay, so the thumb is here, the knuckle is here. So you want to try to get your hand on the part of the knife right where the thumb, where the base of the thumb is. And then all you have to do is start to push toward that opening between the thumb and the forefinger. Okay, obviously in the real fight, there's no time to do it slow. You'll just jerk it down, and that's going to pop free. When you practice with your partner, though, don't do it too fast because it's going to hurt the hell out of their hand, especially if they grip tight. And that is, again, like I said, if you use this rubber knife, that technique is totally not going to work. That's not the fault of the technique. That's the problem with the tool, right? Because if I use this rubber knife and, okay, I line out my grip to the base of the thumb and yeah, see? All it does, flex. Never going to come out, right? It's not the problem with the technique, the problem with the knife. So to recap, very quick, you either want to bend the hand, bend the wrist inside to open up the finger, or you get your hand on the base of the thumb where the knife is, at the base of the thumb, and then pry it out. Aim for the opening or the gap between the thumb and the rest of the finger, like that, right? I said many times before, knife disarm, knife defense, knife fighting, knife combat is largely academic. Luckily, we live in a civilized world, and most of us don't have to deal with this stuff for real. So we have the leisure to stand here watching a video, talking about it, and have some fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. But um, let's just hope that none of us, ever have to put these to the test because it's going to be some really scary stuff. Thank you for being here with me today, and I'll be back again tomorrow for some Wisdom Wednesday.